Welcome back to Time Out with J and G. It's Jay over here. It's G over there.
Yo, what is going on, everyone?
And today we are back with episode 2 of the asking or like our questions for every single NFL team. And this week it'll be AFC teams. Last week we did the NFC. So if you want to watch that video, go back on our channel to last week. You can see the question we have for every NFC team going into this regular season, man. And now we're gonna do AFC. We've just gotten through week 1. We're going into week 2 of the preseason now. We've had a couple things happen. I guess we'll start with the big news. J.J. McCarthy, out for the season.
Yep.
Towards meniscus, he had surgery today. They announced he's going to be out for the entire season. It just got reported here within an hour or two ago, or maybe a little bit earlier, that Jordan Addison was carted off the field with a leg injury. So the Vikings are really having a rough. The Vikings are having an awful offseason. An awful offseason. Because they had that rookie corner that died a couple months ago, remember? Or like a month ago. Like, the Vikings are going to have a crazy offseason. I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of answers my question that I had for them last episode, was who was going to be the QB. I guess it's Sam Darnold.
It's going to be Sam Darnold. I have Justin Jefferson in one of my fantasy leagues, and I couldn't be happier because he's going to get every single target, I think, this year.
TJ Hawkinson's going to commandeer some touches.
He is, but especially Jordan Addison misses significant time. Sam Darnold is going to be looking at he's going to be looking at TJ Hawkinson too, but he's going to be looking at Justin Jefferson a lot. So yeah, it sucks to see, man. It sucks to see a rookie quarterback have before he looked pretty good in his first preseason games, and then boom, he's out for the entire season. Kind of reminds me of like a Chet Holmgren thing for the NBA where he missed his entire rookie season. But then you know what? Chet came in year 2 and looked really damn good. So maybe this year off of rehabbing and working in the NFL system, J.J. McCarthy could come in next season and be a good quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, even if there was a timetable for him to be back this season, I don't think the Vikings should even remotely think about that.
Yeah, they're not going to be good, and you don't want to bring him back. Yeah, you don't want to bring him back hurt if you're a bad team. And I'm looking here.
I was going to say, just let him heal up the entire way and go through physical therapy and get him back to playing shape for next season.
Yeah. Oh, apparently, I forgot. TJ Hawkinson's missing time, I'm pretty sure. Hold on. I'm pretty sure he has an injury. What is... Yeah, he had the ACL injury, so I don't think Hawkinson's going to play the start of the season either.
Well, shit.
Yeah, so that Vikings team is... this Viking team is...
It's going to be worse than I thought.
They're going to be really, really, really bad. Right here... Well, I don't want to... This guy isn't like a super, super reliable source, but... This guy, Scott Erickson, it says, update, it's feared, not confirmed, but it's feared that Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison has suffered an ACL injuries. MRIs are still confirming the severity. Yeah. So, that's back-to-back days. Your starting quarterback and your number 2 receiver are most likely out for the season. That's,
Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a couple things I just wanted to hit on before we got out of before we kind of jumped in here, because it's big news. It is definitely big news.
Yes, it is. It's not good news. But
no, it's not good news at all. News. So, do we want to go ahead and jump into this to our questions, or do you have anything else you want to hit
on? Not really. I'm ready to get right into this.
All right, so we're going to start like we did last week. We start with like kind of the worst divisions and kind of move up to the better divisions. So we're going to start with the AFC South. And the first team on there is the Houston Texans.
All right, so my first question is, will C.J. Stroud be hit with the sophomore jinx or sophomore slump?
Mm-hmm.
He had a really good rookie year. Did he break some rookie records?
I'm sure he did,
or
yeah.
Was he real close? But he had an amazing rookie season, better than what probably everyone expected of him, and he just tore through any expectations. But is he going to get hit with it to where it's just like he knows what he has to do at this point, and he has to get even better than last year? I wonder if he's gonna get slumped with it this year. You know what I mean?
I don't think he will be because he just got Stephon Diggs too on top of it. Like their skill positions are kind of nuts right now. I mean, you got Stephon Diggs, you have Nico Collins, you have Tank Dell, John Mechie, hopefully get a jump from him, Noah Brown, Robert Woods. You have Joe Mixon now, who they signed. Remember, don't forget that they got Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce. Like, they have such a crazy offensive talent around him that, like, I understand your question. Like, he might take a step back himself, but obviously, like, we don't know. But I think the offense around him is so damn good that it's going to be hard for him to take a step back unless he just all of a sudden can't hit throws and can't read the field.
Well, it's also with a caveat to where now you're looking at a team to where there's a lot of mouths to feed. With Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, like you said, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of mouths to feed on this offense. And it could get to the point to where it's just like, well, he's getting touches and I'm not, or you know what I mean? And it could implode on itself.
Yeah, my question for the Texans is the offensive line good enough to keep up with the rest of the team? So, at tackle, they got Laramie Tunsil, then Kenyon Green left guard, center is Juice Scruggs, right guard's Shaq Mason, then Titus Howard is your right tackle. Laramie Tunsil's been a good tackle his entire career pretty much. Kenyon Green's a young guard. Shaq Mason has been a good guard. He was a good guard with the Patriots for a long time. And it's like Titus Howard's had his injury problems and stuff like that. Like we just said with everything else, like they have so many good skill position players. But we know the heart of the offense is that offensive line. You know what I mean? Yep. And if they can't block, I mean, I'm trying to think. Look at like a Bengals. Like a Bengals team. Obviously, you have great talent, but their offensive line at times has just absolutely sucked, and it got Joe Burrow hurt. Now, I'm not putting that kind of thing on C.J. Stroud like with the injuries, but like you got if your offensive line sucks, it doesn't matter how good your skill position players are. And right now, their offensive line isn't bad. I don't want to sit here and say it's like it's awful, but it's definitely not great. And sometimes you can only go as far as your offensive line can take you.
Yeah, I mean they pretty much gotta keep Stroud off of his back.
Yeah, pretty much. Next, we have... Where was that team? Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts.
Indianapolis Colts, right? My question... it's going to be a lot of quarterbacks over here, but it pertains to the quarterback in Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
Got injured last year. I don't think played... He played, at the beginning of the season, and that was it?
Yeah.
Coming back
I think like
this year,
5 games or so, something like that.
Yeah. Coming into this year, we've seen what he can do. Is he going to come out and do what he was doing before? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Jonathan Taylor this year is locked in.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to be playing
He should be.
He should be playing the entire season. So, I mean, this team is going to go as far as Anthony Richardson takes him. I'm going to be honest. Richardson takes him. I mean, I'm not saying like playoff team or, deep run playoff team, but I think they can make a little bit of noise in the South.
No, I agree. I do agree. Like Anthony Richardson's one of those guys. It's like and we've said it since like one of the biggest reasons where he got drafted where he did is like he's a guy with crazy untapped potential. Like he's just an athletic freak with a big like an arm. Like it's one of those guys that like if you can unlock into his full potential, he's going to be a superstar quarterback. It's just like it's potential. You know what I mean? He's one of those like he has a wide range. He could be a low floor, really really high ceiling player. You know what I mean? And, yeah, I mean, he looked good. He had his rookie moments, but he looked pretty good as a rookie, like all things considered. Yep. And then, obviously, he had the injury, and he had a whole, pretty much more than half the season, the offseason, kind of work with this team. They brought in a little bit of receiver help, and, I mean, if they can keep him off the ground and he can stay healthy, I do think Anthony Richardson's going to be a good quarterback. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I don't think he's gonna walk into the season. I don't think we're gonna get out of the season and go like, oh man, he was top 10 this year. But I do think you're gonna be like, okay, like the Colts will be like, okay, we found our guy. He's a young quarterback, but I think we found our guy.
And I mean, it also helps for Anthony Richardson's sake that they brought in Joe Flacco to be the quote unquote backup and to help him progress in his passing abilities. Yeah.
My question for the Colts was, will anyone from the young secondary make a jump? So. They have Kenny Moore, who's a decent corner, but other than that, everybody's pretty much young. And they have 5 corners entering their second or third season and they played more than 300 snaps. So they have a lot of like second, third year players in that secondary. And unfortunately, again, I'm using PFF, not the best scale, but I'm using it for my argument here. None of them managed to earn a PFF grade over 67.0 in 2023. That's bad. That's not good. Yeah. And we talked about it with the NFC teams. Like, some of these teams got good secondaries, but they got a bad defensive line. You look at this defensive line for the Colts. It's not great, but it's pretty decent. You got Quiddy a youngish edge rusher. They drafted a lot too this year. DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart at the D tackle spots. Tyquan Lewis on the other end. Like, they have a decent front seven, but it's just that secondary is actually, it's not very good. It hasn't been good for a while now, honestly. And you can be a top 10 team against the run, but if you're dead last in pass defense, teams are just going to air it out on you all day. And it's just, it's just the way the league is going nowadays. And it's like, they have some decent safeties with Nick Cross, Justin Blackman, Ronnie Harrison's back there too, but it's just, other than Kenny Moore, it's not great. It's really just not great back there. So I'm curious to see how they hold up this season. Next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars, whatever you want to call them.
My question for the Jaguars is, are we finally going to see Trevor Lawrence take the next step? Because I seen a stat to where his statistics and his starts were damn near similar. I believe. I think it was Daniel Jones.
Oof.
And we think of those two players in very different stratospheres, right?
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has to take that step and in my opinion, prove that he's the superstar quarterback and can lead the Jags for the next 10 seasons.
Right.
I just, with the comparable stats to Daniel Jones, he's got to take that step and he's got to get away from that. You know what I mean? Like he's got to be a contender in the South with more than just 10 wins.
I agree. No, I agree. I've always been a Trevor Lawrence fan. He's a fumbling issue as well. He takes off and runs a lot, has a lot of fumbling issues. He sometimes will fall into that same category that Justin Fields falls into, where it's just like, bro, get rid of the ball. Like, he just holds onto the ball and moves around a lot. And, I guess that comes with you being on a not great team. You know what I mean? He's just trying to make plays. He doesn't have a lot of great players around him, which kind of leans into my question is going to be, like, who's going to be the number one receiver on this team? Because they don't really have one. They had Calvin Ridley. He left. Their receiver room is Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis. They drafted Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram, Devin Duvernay's there. Like, they just don't have a very good receiving core at all. And that kind of goes more into like it's gonna be tough. And honestly, with those Daniel Jones comparisons, neither one of them have ever really had good receivers.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's only so much you can do if your receivers can't get open. But yeah, you have to hope for Trevor Lawrence to then, like, as he matures, like, be able to get the ball out when he needs to get the ball out, instead of making all these trying to make all these plays. But they need help with receiver desperately. Because remember, like, was that 2 off seasons ago now? They paid Christian Kirk a lot of money to come be there, and he just obviously is not the number one receiver type. So yeah, no, it's I don't know. The Jags are a team that, like, you're like, they have a wide range too. Like, they could be a 10-win team and win the division, or they could be like a 5-win team and just suck. I don't really know. I really don't know.
It's pretty much just a coin flip right now.
Yeah. Next, and the last team in the South is the Tennessee Titans.
So with the Titans, I believe they got Calvin Ridley. They brought in D-Hop, I believe, last year. They have Tyler Boyd. They got Tony Pollard. Their line, young, but I believe it has potential.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is looking good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, the defense look good. The only position, again, is quarterback.
That goes with my question too. Yeah.
Is Will Levis the quarterback that this team needs? Can Will Levis be the quarterback this team needs?
Mm-hmm.
He has the weapons. He's got the defense. He's got pretty much almost everything that you need for a quote-unquote contending team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to put it all together. Whether it's him, whether it's Mason Rudolph, whether it's Malik Willis, they have to find their guy sooner rather than later, because this team,
they have pieces.
This team, in my opinion, is built to win. I'm going to be honest. It's built to win.
They're built to make a playoffs. I don't think they're built to win anything deeper than that, but I understand exactly what you're saying. Like, with a good quarterback, this team could make some damage.
Yes. And obviously, depending on who they would face, if they make the playoffs, who they would face, depending on matchups and everything. But this team is built to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that kind of goes with my question. My question is Will Levis a future quarterback? We kind of talked about it. He ranked 30th among quarterbacks last year with a 63.7 PFF grade. Again, he was a rookie and against PFF grade, but he had moments. He had like a couple highlight moments, but like on a down to down basis, wasn't great. Like I do think he kind of fell into that trap of if you only watch social media and saw some of his highlights, you probably think it's a little bit better than he actually is. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say he was a rookie. I don't want to say he's bad, but like he did get a little bit more hype because of some highlight plays, and obviously he's had some stuff going on this offseason that made him popular. If you know, you know. So yeah, no, we still don't know. It's only going into a second year, so I think they do have a year or two to kind of work with it. But like you mentioned, they got guys like D-Hop. They brought in Calvin Ridley. They brought in L'Jarius Sneed in the corner. Chidobe Awuzie brought in another corner. J.C. Latham, offensive line. Like, they brought in veteran, good players. So it's like you're trying to develop a young quarterback that's never – Will Levis wasn't like this top quarterback prospect coming out. You know what I mean? Like, what you went second round, I think? Like, it's not like if this was like a Trevor Lawrence you had as your quarterback, you're like, okay, this is a guy that's like supposed to be top of the line quarterback coming out of college. You took a guy in the second round and then you put him in a win now team, like you said. It's kind of it's gonna be hard to develop him while the team's also trying to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's just that question: do you go with Will Levis and see if he develops in time, or do you go with, Mason Rudolph?
No. I don't want to see Mason Rudolph starting. I don't. I'm just being honest.
It's Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, or Malik Willis unless they bring somebody in.
And honestly, if I'm Tennessee, it's it's Will Levis or it's nothing. Because Mason Rudolph isn't going to take this team anywhere that Will Levis can't. I know you're a Steelers fan. And I don't mean it all like to downplay Mason Rudolph because he had his moments, but it's like you can't tell me even for a second you think Mason Rudolph could take this team anywhere further than a Will Levis could. You know what I mean? Like they're just.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I just think it's like if at this point they're like if it's not Will Levis and we have to just go find somebody else because I don't think they have it on their team if it's not Will Levis at this point in time at least. Or maybe I could be wrong. But I just from what we've seen from Malik Willis, what we've seen from Mason Rudolph, if it's not Will Levis, then the player's not on the team right now. But we're gonna go ahead and jump to the AFC West and we'll start with the Denver Broncos.
All right, so this one I feel like is pretty prevalent in my opinion. Who the hell is going to be the quarterback? Is it Bo Nix? Is it Zach Wilson? Are they going to throw Jarrett Stidham out there? I mean,
I think Jarrett Stidham's listed as a starter right now.
Well, according to ESPN, Bo Nix is the starter.
Okay.
Stidham is second, and then Zach Wilson. I mean, who's going to be the starter? You know what I mean? This team, I'm going to be honest, not the best. They have pieces here and there, but they need to find their quarterback. Who knows? It could be Bo Nix, but they have to find that out sooner rather than later. They're going to find themselves in a sinkhole per se. Yeah,
mine's. I'm just going to piggyback. I pretty much had the same question about who's going to be the quarterback because they traded up to 12 to get Bo Nix, and everybody at the time was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I still feel that way. It was a weird situation. I don't think Bo Nix is really. Like, he's fine. I don't think he's ever going to be anything like crazy though. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know what direction they're going. They're probably going to start Bo Nix just because again, your other options are Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're probably just going to start Bo Nix. But I don't know. I don't know. Next is the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions.
Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, you can poke at the wide receiver issues all you want. I mean, they brought in, I believe, Hollywood Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You can poke at it all you want, but is this secondary going to be able to step up? That's my question. Because you look at them, your starting corners are Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, and I don't even know how to say his first name, Connor. You do have your safety in Justin Reed, and you have Brian Cook, but for this team to make a push like they did last year, try and win the whole thing, their secondary is going to have to take a step up, or they're going to have to try and make a trade.
Yeah, because they lost L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, they're going to have to bolster the secondary because, I mean, you look at the defensive line, you have Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, then at the linebackers you have Drew Tranquil, Nick Bolton. Like, your front seven are pretty good. especially having Chris Jones anchor the middle. There, it's good, but it's your back four. That is the big question, in my opinion. They need to figure it out. Whether someone steps up, they go trade for somebody. But with how this offense, and we know how this offense can be, is this secondary going to take that step that needs to happen?
My question is just, do they have tackles? And I mean like offensive tackles. Like you have Jawan Taylor and you have Kingsley Suamata. Was it Suamadia? Mataya?
Something like that.
I don't know. I don't know. They brought in 2023 brought in Donovan Smith and Jawan Taylor. And I'm pretty sure Donovan Smith isn't even on the team anymore.
No, he's not.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know. They got a couple of rookies there. And I just don't know. I don't know. I think they're projected to start actually Wanya Morse, I think is actually projected to start what I'm reading here at the left tackle spot instead of the rookie Kingsley. But I guess that's something they'll figure out through preseason. It's just like, especially the left tackle is the blind side for Patrick Mahomes. That is the blind side protector of the best quarterback in the NFL, and you have no idea who's starting. It could be a third-round rookie. That's
crazy.
That's not good. That's not good at all. Like that's a massive issue that, I mean, again, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like he makes plays, but it's like he's got to have something. I'm not saying he needs a top 5 tackle over there, but you gotta give him some peace of mind that the guy at the left tackle spot can at least stop somebody. You know what I mean? Can get in front of somebody. And their offensive line's not great. I mean, obviously Creed Humphrey is a fantastic center, one of the best, if not the best center in the league. But that tackle spot just isn't good at all.
I was gonna say their interior line is pretty good. You can argue their center and guard spots are arguably some of the best in the league.
Yes.
But them tackle spots, dog,
are rough.
Yeah.
Next,
to say the least.
Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders. Similar to what I've been talking about most of the time here, is their quarterback situation.
Yep, that's my question as well.
Yeah, are you gonna go with the older, more the older veteran in Gardner Minshew, or are you gonna go with the younger, hopefully progresses better, Aiden O'Connell?
I was just gonna piggyback on this real quick so we can get through the Raiders. The Raiders might have the worst quarterback room in the NFL.
Arguably, yes.
It's pitiful. Like I understand Gardner Minshew has his hype, is like whatever, but like Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, like it's a very bad offensive quarterback group.
Absolutely, and I mean, with the weapons that you have, they drafted Brock Bowers, who a lot of people say they are going to play him in the slot, and I would love to see that, get him and Michael Mayer out there together. You got Devontae Adams.
I was going to say, because outside of Devontae Adams, the receivers not great.
You got Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. Just there are some pieces there, especially drafting Brock Bowers, but quarterback situation is just a giant question mark with a team that has a good defense.
Yeah. Like I said, pretty much I said what I had to say. I think the quarterback situation is awful. I don't know who's going to play. I didn't see a lot out of Aiden O'Connell last year that makes me confident in him, but again, we'll see this year. Like I don't know. They're not looking great right now. Next, we have the Chargers.
The Chargers, man, it's got to be the wide receivers.
Yeah, again, also
They lost Keenan Allen and
Mike Williams.
According to ESPN, that's why you use your wide receiver 1 is Josh Palmer, 2 is Ladd McConkey or something. Conkey, something like that.
That's pretty funny.
DJ Chark, and then like Quentin Johnston.
That's crazy. He's that low in a depth chart.
He's second string behind Joshua Palmer. But it's like those are your weapons. We all know Justin Herbert, good quarterback, arguably top 10 in the league, top 5, whatever however your opinion is. They brought in Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. Like, it's just the wide receivers, in my opinion. That's where the big question mark is.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need Josh Palmer, DJ Chark, Ladd to step up and fill the void, but just a matter of can they do that?
Yeah, because they at 5, they had a chance to take a guy like Malik Neighbors, like a receiver, but they instead went Joe Alt, which they needed tackle help, so I'm not mad at it, but it's like they didn't do anything to really help the receiver room this offseason.
It's just that is a big question mark. But I guess they have an inclination, or they know something, or they're trusting like Josh Palmer to take that step up, or Quentin Johnston to not drop so many open catches. It's just I hope they know what they're doing at this wide receiver position, because you have a generational quarterback in Justin Herbert here. And you
Yep.
don't want to waste him away.
Yep. All right. Now we're going to be moving to the AFC East, and we're starting with the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, this team is just a giant question mark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. With everything that they did, they traded Stephon Diggs, which he wanted out. So, but you have Josh Allen.
They also
and
lost
James
Gabe Davis.
Cook. Yeah, they lost Gabe Davis. So now your wide receiver core is Khalil
Shakir.
Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel. You do still have Dalton Kincaid, and you have Dawson Knox.
Hey,
but,
don't forget MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, is on the team.
Yep, MVS. He's there, but it's just, this team, especially with the moves that they made on the defensive side, this team is just one big question mark. And obviously, with someone like Josh Allen, they're probably going to be up there for a wild card spot.
Mhm.
But it just comes to the question is, like, what were they thinking?
I agree. My question is basically who's gonna replace the receiver room? Like the receiver room is disgusting right now, and like Josh Allen's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but damn, there's just only so much he can do. He's got to have receivers out there. You know what I mean? And Josh Allen's the type of guy where he's gonna make faster guys better. I mean, they got KJ Hamler on the team too. That's a shout out Penn State, who's just kind of a smaller guy, but that can get down the field. You know what I mean? Like, they just need people that are going to get down the field for Josh Allen to get the ball to him. But it's just, the receiver room's bad. The receiver's bad. And like you mentioned, they lost a lot of people on defense, too. This Bills team, again, they're probably going to be decent because they have Josh Allen, but their window is closed, I think. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them.
Now, a quick question. Who do you think has a better wide receiver room, the Bills or the Chargers?
The Bills.
The Bills? Okay.
The Bills. Yeah. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, my question is... Hold on, wait here. This is more just a late season type thing, but can they win games in the cold?
That's fair.
Like, when it comes time for postseason and they got to go somewhere and they can't play at home and they got to go to KC, or they're going to have to go to, Baltimore, or they got to go to the Jets. Can you win in cold environments? Because we've seen in the past they cannot do that. We've seen it last year when I believe they went to KC. This team has got to figure out something on how to win in the cold, because it's going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, no, I agree. They were actually really bad in the cold. My question is, who do you trust outside of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? So obviously you have those two at the top, but then after that they signed Odell Beckham Jr., which at this point in time, I don't know. We're getting out of Odell Beckham Jr. at this point in time. Then they have Braxton Berrios, like Malik Washington, Willie Snead. Like they brought in Jonnu Smith as their starting tight end, which isn't great. Like, outside those top two, the receiving core and tight end core is not good. And it's like obviously Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are two of the fastest players in the entire NFL. They can get deep, but they've got to. You just can't have only two options. You got to have a fleshed out receiving core, tight end. Like, they got to have somebody more reliable down there, like just to be there. Because Tyreek's going to get double teamed, he can beat double teams. Jalen Waddle's going to get double teamed, he can also beat double teams, but not every single play. And they just, I don't know who the hell you trust outside of those two. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Like, they're both smaller receivers too. So it's like a third and short. If you want to get like one of those classic Jason Witten plays where the tight end goes right to the first down marker, then stops and turns around and waits for the pass. Like, they just don't really have anybody they can rely on across the middle of the field to make tough contested catches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see who's going to do that? Who's going to step up in those kind of situations? Next, we have the New England Patriots.
Another quarterback-themed one. I believe they drafted Drake May, and then they turned around later and drafted Joe Milton. And then I do believe they Yeah, they brought in Jacoby Brissett, and they already have Bailey Zappi. So now you get theoretically 4 quarterbacks that are fighting it out for the starting job, more so 3. But who do you give the nod to? Do you give it to Drake May because you drafted him higher? Do you give it to Joe Milton because he has the legs and the ability to make more athletic plays? He's just more of an athletic freak.
Mhm.
Or do you give it to the grizzled veteran in Jacoby Brissett? I feel like this is another quarterback room that is up for question, and I don't know which way that they're gonna go with it.
I think all signs will point to Drake May. Honestly, Jacoby Brissett might start the season and kind of give that veteran role until they feel Drake May is fully capable, because this team's not competing. There's no reason to rush Drake May out there on a field at this point in time. Joe Milton's a cool story. I just don't think. I don't know. Joe Milton's a cool story and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I don't know even the words to put it in. I just don't think he's gonna do that. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to be much. I just really don't. He's got big arm. He's got legs, yes, but it's just... I mean, you watched him every Saturday at Tennessee. He's just not the best decision maker, not always accurate. It's just... I don't know.
That was the big question, was his accuracy, and sometimes they have to throw him, screen passes to try and get him into rhythm, but hopefully he has overcome that, and I'm hoping that he has a good career. Yeah,
no, I'm rooting for him. My question is, again, who is Drake May throwing the ball to? Or, who is whichever quarterback on his team they decide to go to, who are they throwing the ball to? The receiving room is Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, KJ Osborne, Javon Baker, Tyquan Thornton, Keyshawn Butte, Jalen Rager, and Kwan. Jalen Rager's on this team? I could have swore he... no, that's Nelson Aguilar. It's on the Ravens. I got them, for some reason, I got those two mixed up. Hunter Henry's tight end, okay. They just don't have a good receiving core at all. Their offensive line, I'm not in love with either, but I think their receiving core is just disgusting. And it's Tom Brady was able to make it work with your mid-level receivers, but that kind of quarterback comes around once a generation, and I could be wrong, but I don't think Drake May is going to be that. It's you got to give him something. You got to give him, bring in, maybe if you have to even bring in, an older veteran receiver that's coming maybe out of their prime, but it's that guy's at least reliable for my young quarterback. They just don't have anybody where it's if I'm Drake May and I'm looking at my receiver core, who can I rely on that's okay, that guy's going to make a play for me if I give him the ball. You know what I mean? And they just don't have it. I mean, even the running back room, I like Ramondre Stevenson, but it's him and Antonio Gibson, and it's they're not electric. This offense is just... I mean, it's a classic Patriots offense where it's bland, it's boring, but now they don't have the best quarterback of all time on the team. So it's now it's bland and boring, and you don't have a guy making up for it. It's just bland and boring, and also, just frankly not good.
Also, shout out to your YouTube channel, Cloud2K, on YouTube. I'm pretty sure during your Patriots rebuild, you had Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson on the team.
I did. I did.
Funny.
Yeah, man. I signed Antonio Gibson after the first offseason, and then he went there in real life. So shout out my YouTube channel. Go check out Cloud2K, doing College Football 25. 2K24, going to do 2K25 when that comes out. And I just recently started streaming a second Dynasty that I'm doing strictly on YouTube streams, live, whatever you want to call it. Try to do it on Twitch. Twitch is being a dumbass with my PlayStation. I don't know. But that's going to be a Vanderbilt series. So go check that out. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, no. The offense is bad. The offense is bad. And who the hell is Drake May going to rely on at this point in time is basically my question.
Hunter Henry.
Yeah, right. Next, the last team in this division is the New York Jets.
My question pertains to the quarterback again. Will Aaron Rodgers be the quarterback that we've seen him for most of his career the past couple years? Mm-hmm. Because let's be honest, this Jets team is going to go as far as Aaron Rodgers can take. And we've seen what happened last year when he went down with an injury, and we've seen, 3 different quarterbacks?
Yeah, it was rough.
It was very rough. As long as he stays healthy and he plays to 75-80% of what we know he can do, I feel like this Jets team is going to make a run for the division.
Yep.
And is probably going to be in the playoffs.
I kind of have a similar... mine kind of relates to a couple other questions I've had. Again, is outside of Garrett Wilson, who on this receiving core does Aaron Rodgers have? Because, yeah, they brought in Mike Williams, who's a good receiver, but he's had injury problems. It's okay, is he going to be on the field enough? And then once you get past Mike Williams, you're looking at Xavier Gibson, Alan Lazard, nothing crazy. You know what I mean? It's just Aaron Rodgers is used to having guys like Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Garrett Wilson's good, and again, if you can get Mike Williams on the field, he's going to be good too. It's just, I don't love their receiving options. Again, that tight end, Tyler Conklin. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have a lot of weapons there in New York, and they have such a good defense, man. Their defense was one of the best in the league last year. Their offense just sucked ass. Obviously, having Aaron Rodgers play, the offense is going to be better, but how great can this offense be when the receiving room is just, again, not very good?
Also, a shout out CJ Mosley.
Shout out CJ Mosley. If you know, you know. All right, we're on to our last division, the AFC North. And man, okay, it's funny. We're gonna start with the Baltimore Ravens.
My question is can Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry make a deep playoff push? Because we've heard the hype. You know, when it actually happened and he signed with the Ravens, everyone was freaking out. But let's be honest. Can this team actually make a push? Can those two work together to will this Ravens team? Because, I mean, like, you look at the wide receiver room. Zay Flowers, Rashawn Bateman, Nelson Aguilar. They have Russell Gage. I mean, outside of, like, Mark Andrews, to be honest, I mean, Zay Flowers is still young, but it's pretty much going to be Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry running read options the entire time. With
it's going to be hard to stop.
Mark Andrews. Yeah, it will be hard to stop. Like, you're going to have to play some hybrid-type defense. Because you're going to need big bodies to try and stop Derrick Henry, but you're going to need speed to stop Lamar Jackson. It's going to be very deadly, but is it going to work when it comes into the postseason? Because we know the struggles that Lamar Jackson has faced in the postseason.
Yeah, my question kind of, in a way, goes along is, it has to do with mine's basically, how much worse is this offensive line going to be this season? Because last year, I think they were ranked one of the best. I think top 5. They were ranked PFF offensive lines last season. But then they let both guards, Kevin Zeitler and John Simpson, leave in free agency, and then they traded Morgan Moses to the Jets to tackle. That's 3 starters out of the offensive line last year that was top 5 are now gone.
Yeah.
And you bring in Derrick Henry, who we've seen in his years in Tennessee hasn't always had the best offensive line. He just runs through people. But again, Derrick Henry's also getting older now. This isn't the 2017, 2018 version of Derrick Henry we're getting anymore. And it's like, listen, how is Lamar Jackson going to be able to handle the difference between a top 5 offensive line one year and probably a significantly worse offensive line this season?
Yeah, it's going to be rough.
We'll see, though.
Yeah. Also, shout out Deontay Harty, one of the best kick returners in the league right now.
Yeah. Next is the Cincinnati Bengals.
I mean, this one I feel like we've been talking. It's just been a continuous thing. Can this offensive line keep Joe Burrow off of his back?
Yep.
I know they've brought in pieces. They've tried to do this, tried to do that, but when it comes down to it, you know, he's 2 times so far in his young career he's been injured and missed at least half the season or something like that. Like, they have the pieces to make a run. We've seen him in the Super Bowl, but their offensive line has got to keep him upright. They got Zach Moss. The running back room is a little shaky, but when you have wide receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and you bring in Mike Gesicki, I mean, this offense is ready to go. It's just a matter of, can the line keep him off his back?
I agree. Mine was basically like they've actually invested a little bit in the offensive line, and I'm curious to see if it's going to pay off. They signed Trent Brown. Trent Brown's one of the better tackles in the league, so he's playing across from Orlando Brown. So they got good tackles now. They also drafted Amari Smith from Georgia in the first round this year too. So it's like they got from left tackle Orlando Brown, left guard Cordell Volson, Ted Karras at center, Alex Kappa at right guard, and then Trent Brown at right tackle. Like, they have, on paper, they're going to have a pretty decent offensive line this season. Now we have to wait and see how that actually looks on the field. But this is, I think, by far the best offensive line Joe Burrow's had in the NFL. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, he's got his injury history. So if they can keep him off his back, that's the biggest thing for this Bengals team making a deep run. And I mean, because they have the offensive pieces. Like I said, running back room isn't great, but they're going to be more of a pass-heavy team anyway, so I don't think they're really that worried about it. Next, the Cleveland Browns.
It pretty much just is Nick Chubb going to be ready to go next season?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a big question. If Nick Chubb can come back and he's ready to go and he can be the Nick Chubb that we all know he can be, this offense is going to be really, really good. Because you got to figure they have Amari Cooper. They brought in Jerry Jeudy. They have Elijah Moore. You know, David Njoku, one of better tight ends in the league, in my opinion. Their line, you could question it, but I feel like they have a really good offensive line. It's just Deshaun Watson or Jameis Winston, and is Nick Chubb going to be able to come back and be the force that we all know he was?
Yeah, my question is, can Deshaun Watson find his own old form? And I understand at this point in time, nobody likes Deshaun Watson anymore because of his off-the-field stuff. We're not here to talk about that. That's not what we're talking about right now. We're just talking about on-the-field Deshaun Watson because he was a good quarterback in Houston. Clemson, Houston, he was a good quarterback. He got outplayed by Joe Flacco last year. We'll just be flat out honest. He got outplayed by Joe Flacco when Joe Flacco stepped in for him. And that you can't have that. You can't have your $230 million quarterback getting outplayed by a guy that walked in off the street, what Joe Flacco did last year. You know what I mean? I think he was ranked 27th in PFF grade. Again, PFF grade, whatever. But Deshaun Watson was ranked as a 27th best quarterback in the league last season. And he's, top 5, top 10 paid quarterback? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just, like, Deshaun Watson had a 3-year stretch in Houston where he threw for 4,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 picks, 3,900 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 picks. And then his last year in Houston, 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. The 2 years he's been in Cleveland, his playing time, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks. He barely been on the field. And 2, when he's been on the field, he's been bad.
Yep.
I'm sure the off-the-field stuff has a lot to do with it, just his mental state with the game. But, like, it's like we're not even watching the same quarterback that we saw in Houston and Clemson. This is just not the same guy. And, again, like, I understand fully why people don't like him, and it's cool. But you can never deny, before all this shit came out, Deshaun Watson in Houston was a fun quarterback to watch.
Yes, he was.
And I know people are probably going to drag me for this, but, like, again, this is before everything came out. I was a huge Deshaun Watson fan. Huge. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league when he was in Houston, in Clemson and then in Houston. Like, I don't know, he was one of my favorite players to watch. Obviously, things change. I would still enjoy watching a good Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I'm not going to like the guy personally because of the stuff he did off the field, but I can sit there and be like, you know what? A good Deshaun Watson is a fun football player to watch, and I'd like to see that again.
Me too. I feel like if he can get back to how he was playing in Houston and in Clemson, that this Browns team is going to be a really, really good team.
Yeah, they kind of suffer for the same thing the Jets did last season, where it's like such a good defense, but the offense just could not keep up because of quarterback issues.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's very fitting, but that's how they're listed on the depth chart. We're going to finish it off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, your favorite team.
I mean, the big question mark for this team is, what is the offense going to look like? You know, you have 2 quarterbacks in Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I think Russell Wilson's going to get the nod to start. Then in your backfield, you have Najee Harris, Jalen Moore, and Cordell Patterson. Wide receivers, I mean, you pretty much just have Pickens, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, what is this offense going to do? We already know what the defense can do. Arguably top 5 defense in the league. But is this offense going to be able to keep up with the defense in trying to get wins? You know, keeping the defense off the field, keeping drives, keeping drives going. You know what I mean? And keeping the defense off the field so they don't get overly tired. Just, are they gonna go with a 13 personnel? They're going 22. It's just a big question, especially when they bring in Arthur Smith to be your offensive coordinator.
Yeah, my question is basically, can the offensive line be good? It's a question we've had for the Steelers for a while now. A couple years ago, they were one of the worst in the league, honestly. But they've had a couple good drafts with the offensive line, and you know what? I'm not saying they're going to be top 5, but I think they could be pretty decent. I mean, they drafted Troy Fautanu, Broderick Jones. They signed Isaac Salamalu, James Daniel last year. They drafted center Zach Frazier. It's like they've put a lot of investment in this offensive line that, again, was one of their biggest weaknesses on the entire team. And I'm as excited as I can be, not being a Steelers fan, to see how this team works this season. And I really don't know how else to put it. Like, they're one of those teams that are just like, again, they fall into the category. Defense, really good. Offense, sometimes just, like you said, the offense just can't keep up. And now they brought in 2 quarterbacks. One with Russell Wilson's, obviously, I think, like you said, I think he's going to start. But he's your bridge holder to, hopefully, for the Steelers, and the Steelers' idea is that hopefully bridges to Justin Fields. But I don't know. We don't know what's going to go with that. They got 2 decent running backs. They got George Pickens. Like I said, it's not a lot. It's not a lot other than George Pickens, but it's like, you know what? I mean, they got Cordell Patterson, so like he can play some receiver spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they have.
I was saying he's gonna be big on the kick returning.
Yeah, like they have some options. It's just like you got to give Russell Wilson time. You got to give Justin Fields, whoever's your quarterback, you got to give him time in the pocket to find George Pickens and Van Jefferson maybe, and like Pat Freiermuth. You know what I mean? So it's just did the Steelers finally fix their offensive line problems?
I was saying also don't be surprised if they run a full house shotgun. With basically like a tight end and two running backs in the backfield around. Like they're gonna get very, very unique with how they do this, in my opinion, especially with Arthur Smith.
I agree. Well, that is our question for all 32 NFL teams. We did 16 last week, 16 this week. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think we have some good questions for all of them. Also, shout out Old Dominion for beating Fresno State 42-12.
Yeah, before we started recording, you were like, man, people are going to tune in to watch Old Dominion and Fresno State. Well, Old Dominion kicked their ass. Nothing about it. Just, damn, came in and whooped butt. That's actually kind of crazy. Oh, man.
Also, shout out to Trayvon Diggs. He made his return to full practice after his injury last season, so hopefully he comes out and balls out for the Cowboys.
We need it. Our cornerback room is not looking great. We need all the help we can get. That was a big change in our we had a decent start to the season, and then once he got injured, it really did affect the team deeply. But is there anything else you want to jump on to talk about before we get up out of here?
Not really.
Well, then I guess it's going to be another episode of Time Out with J&G. We'll be back I guess we'll probably still keep doing one a week until we actually get deep into football season so we have more stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
But, pretty soon we're going to have our predictions. Probably the next two or so weeks we're going to have our predictions for the NFL teams. And then basketball's coming back pretty soon after that. So we'll talk about it. And, I guess we'll see you guys Wednesday. Peace.